Good afternoon, everybody, and especially for people who registered from Europe, and good morning to people who registered from America to this webinar on smart heritage, tourism development, and European cultural routes, organized by the Cooperation Network of the Routes of Emperor Charles V and the Juste Foundation. We have 140 people registered from 23 countries. Allow me to say hello to all of them, people from Argentina, Belgium, Bulgaria, Brazil, Colombia, Costa Rica, Cuba, Germany, Spain, France, UK, Greece, Italy, Luxembourg, Mexico, Peru, Portugal, Romania, Sweden, Ukraine, United States, Uruguay, and Venezuela. Thank you very much for you to follow us, and also a special welcome to the members of the different cultural routes certified by the Council of Europe who have registered for this forum, and can be also followed later by the YouTube channel of the Routes of Charles V. We'll put the link later on the chat of this webinar. And I would like also to thanks to all the people working, especially in the field of the cultural heritage, the tourism, and the new technologies fields that are working so hard in these difficult times to protect our common heritage, and also to keep working to make it available for all of us in a secure way during the pandemic, and also to prepare the way for the coming weeks and months once the conditions will allow it. We hope it will be very soon. I would like also to thank Alain Cervanti, which is the coordinator of the scientific committee of the Routes of Emperor Charles V, who helped us also to set up this webinar. We'll have a series of webinars during the year, and this is the first one this year. And if possible, we'll also to make hybrid webinars. For instance, the one we are preparing after summer on the disputes and revolts against Charles V, because this year we celebrate the 500th anniversary of one of the main revolts against Charles V. I would like also to welcome to the members of the scientific committee who are also present in this webinar, and also to all the members of those 35 routes by the Council of Europe. We will have with us in this opening Stefano Dominioni. I will invite him to come back to the stage to join us in the stage for his presentation. We, as representatives of the European Cultural Routes of Charles V, we are certified routes by the Council of Europe, and he will tell us a little bit what means to be a cultural routes of the Council of Europe, because maybe not all of you know what is European Cultural Route certified by the Council of Europe. And also he will explain how new technologies can be useful for us in the future. Stefano, thank you very much for being with us. We know you have a very busy agenda these days, especially preparing for the future in the following weeks. Hopefully now is the summer is coming very soon, and there is the tourism sector also, which is expecting to start working back again, especially in the cultural sector. And maybe we can help in some way to develop this tourism, and also to develop the regions where the cultural routes of the Council of Europe are present. Please tell us a little bit about the cultural routes and what we can expect from them, and what we can expect from new technologies for the development of the cultural routes.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here today for the Smart Culture Routes Fostering Cultural Heritage and Tourism event organized by the Charles V Culture Routes. So, Miguel Angel, thank you for the invitation, and also greetings to all the members of the Cultural Routes of the Council of Europe that are today with us and are listening to our different presentation. And I saw that you have very distinguished speakers in the panel. So also greetings to all the speakers. What I think it's important to mention is that we are, as we know, we're living unprecedented times, and this is a challenge for us in the field of cultural heritage, but at the same time an opportunity. And I think that the smart way to see it is that we are learning to work a more smarter way, in alternative ways, and we have developed a lot of innovative tools over the last year and a half because we were forced to do so during the pandemic. So a time of difficult transition, also because of Europe. It's really affecting European sense of belonging and affecting the shared European project, threats to social inclusion. Therefore, there's a really strong need for renewal and for a sense of shared purpose, and for a shared also of a sense of continuity, but also innovation and finding new ways. So the role of culture is definitely an important aspect of the sense of identity that we have as Europeans, and the role of cultural tourism is also a way to bring us together, across borders and beyond our differences. So culture heritage, cultural tourism are definitely key aspects. And because the topic of today's event is smart and innovative ways, I will talk to you a little bit about the cultural roots of the Council of Europe program. This is a program that is now in over 30 years old, but it's very much of a way to innovate in many ways. So it is a smart way to approach the field of cultural heritage, because cultural roots are really networks of destinations across European countries. So they're bringing together us, and they make us belong. They make us show a sense of European identity and a common heritage. So already there, I think we have a smart way to approach culture and tourism to create connectivity through different destinations. The other aspect that brings the cultural roots at the forefront of also innovation and smart, let's say, a smart approach to culture tourism is the fact that they connect smaller destinations, off the beaten track destinations, rural destinations. And that also is a very innovative way to look at heritage, because we have been used to looking at traditional cultural heritage sites. We have been looking at UNESCO sites or major capitals. Well, the cultural roots connect, let's say, the less known Europe, without forgetting the main destinations as well. But they do connect rural areas in particular. And that is a very smart way to create also an added value for local development. The other aspect that brings us to define the Cultural Roots program as a smart program is that it is very much linked to the values of the organization that it represents. The Council of Europe has been a leading human rights organization, enshrining its kind of belonging to the international community based on democracy, rule of law, and human rights, but also the appreciation of cultural diversity and intercultural dialogue. And the cultural roots are a very good way to bring different traditions, different culture, different identities together. However, showing that we all are Europeans, we all belong to the same traditions and the same history. We are connected, and in that way, we are also unique, because each of us has its own unique heritage, but we share it because we are linked to a common history. And that is why, over the years, Charles V is a very good example of this. The Cultural Roots program has certified, today I can announce it because it's now official, 45 cultural roots have been now certified, 5 this year by the Council of Europe. So the program is continuing to growing in very different sectors. We have art, architecture, history, religious heritage, gastronomy, landscape. All these are cultural elements that bring us all together, and that is kind of the essence of the message that I want to convey to you. That the strength of the recovery, of the restart of cultural heritage and cultural tourism is this connectivity aspect, both on the ground, because the cultural roots are by essence networks at the territorial level, at the local level. Our essence is hiking trails, cycling trails. Our essence is museums, visits, exhibits, arts galleries, and music festivals, and these kinds of events. But at the same time, this year and a half has shown a lot of resilience because the cultural roots have been able to innovate. And that is what I also wanted to bring as a contribution, the innovative aspect of, let's say, post or pandemic wise, because what the message is that what we are taking away from this crisis that has affected us so dramatically is that although the Cultural Roots program is rooted in the local, at the local level, new hybrid forms using new technologies have been spreading and popping up everywhere around our cultural roots. To give you some examples, responses have included digital platforms, digital museums, digital expositions, online events, a mix of traditional and new media, a lot of activities being held online. And this has really innovated the kind of the field of activities. At the same time, creating new opportunities, and I would say expanding the audience, expanding participation. To give you an example, the route of St. Olaf Ways has organized a virtual pilgrimage, a virtual hiking trail from Finland to Norway. And it did go live stream on Facebook, this virtual trail. And the Hansa has conducted the first Hanseatic Day virtually. And this is also quite an innovative experience. Instead of gathering all in one wonderful Hanseatic city this year because of the pandemic, the event has been held online. Of course, there are limitations to this, but at the same time, I want to see it the very positive aspect of broadening the audience, of broadening participation, of broadening the access to this culture that the cultural roots of the Council of Europe represent. Route planners have been popping up online and web applications. So to give you, my conclusion is that we should be, let's say, hopeful and very hopeful about the future. On the one hand, because we have learned a lot during the year of the pandemic, and we've shown that the cultural roots of the Council of Europe are very resilient, and at the same time that we have come up with new innovative tools. And to conclude, Miguel, what I would like to underline is that what we represent as cultural roots is really at the essence of the new trends in cultural tourism. What the cultural tourists are now looking for, or what the tourists are looking for after the pandemic is kind of comes within a manageable situation, is local heritage, but connected to the wider European perspective, authenticity, connection to the environment, sustainability, the kind of the local treasures that are part of our heritage. So all these aspects, and the participatory aspect as well, are going to be very much at the forefront of the new type of cultural heritage and cultural tourism experience. So I am very hopeful that cultural roots will continue to play a very important role, even more than before. So on this note, I want to give you my, let's say, positive assessment of a very difficult year that we're witnessing, with the best wishes for all of us to go through it in very smart and new way. So thank you very much again for the opportunity. I say hello to all our friends from the different countries that are being online, and give you back the floor. Thank you, Miguel Angel.
So thank you very much, Stefano. Thank you very much for this wonderful introduction, for showing us what are the cultural roots. I will take from you a word you use a lot, that is connect. We are here to connect people, to connect places, to connect history, to connect values, to connect heritage, to connect innovation also. And especially those words that you mentioned on how the cultural roots and the cultural sector in general was very resilient during this pandemic. They adapt, they innovate to adapt to this new situation. Hopefully, many of this innovation will stay for us, because we try to find the good things from the new technologies, and also from this pandemic. And hopefully all this will help us to overcome the difficult situation in which the cultural sector, the heritage sector is right now, and always, of course, with the support of the Institute of the Cultural Roots of the Council of Europe. So thank you very much, Stefano, for being there with us, and we hope to keep working and to start working physically very soon in the following weeks. So thank you very much, and right now I'm going to welcome the speakers for this panel. As you say, they are all very distinguished speakers. We have a very academic event that will show us how useful can be the innovation, the new technologies on the development of cultural roots. I also have to thank Anna Trono, who will be with us later, who is member of our scientific committee of the Roots of Charles V, who helped us to choose this wonderful branch of speakers that will be here with us. So I'm going to start with them, and I would like to come back to call to the stage to Lucio de Paolis. And I say you goodbye, Stefano, and see you later. Thank you very much, Stefano. So I will call Lucio de Paolis to the stage. You can join the stage, please, Lucio. Lucio de Paolis, hello, welcome back. And Lucio de Paolis, he is professor at the Department of Engineering for Innovation at the University of Salento. And he is going to talk us about the extended reality for the valorization of the historical roots. I'm sure that many of the people connected with us today will follow very attentive what you are going to say. I had the chance to see your presentation before. I know it's going to be very rich. And because the time is running, I give you the floor. I will disappear for a while. I will put now your PowerPoint presentation, and then I will leave you to show us and to teach us about this extended reality for the valorization of the historical roots. So I will come back in 30 minutes, Lucio. The floor is yours.
Okay, thanks a lot, Miguel. My speech of today is about the extended reality, how this technology could be used in order to improve the knowledge, in order to foster the fruition of the historical roots and cultural heritage in general. Okay, let me introduce briefly my lab. My laboratory is Augmented Virtual Reality Laboratory, AVR, is located in Lecce, in the south of Italy. And the lab is focused on the use of virtual reality, augmented reality technology, and mixed reality in different fields, in medicine and surgery, in cultural heritage, in the education in general. Let me show you a short movie about the lab. It's a few minutes, a few seconds in order to better understand our research, our application, our topics. Okay. What about the technology that we use in my lab? What is the virtual reality? Virtual reality is a technology that permits to build an artificial world, an artificial environment, digital environment inside the computer, and the user is immersed in this environment. It's possible to navigate, to interact with the virtual object, to manipulate these objects in very sophisticated way in order to have the possibility also to feel the collision, to feel the weight of these objects. And this technology is used in very different fields, but the important thing is that the user, when is immersed in the virtual environment, the user doesn't have any connection to the real world. The user can see only the virtual environment. This is very important in order to understand also the difference between the virtual reality and augmented reality technologies. What is the augmented reality? The augmented reality is a technology that permits to overlap virtual objects in the real environment, in the real world. And in that way, we augment, we enhance the real world, but the user maintains a relationship to the real world. This is important. We have different ways to overlap virtual objects to the real environment. The older technology is based on markers, and the application is able to recognize the marker and overlap virtual objects. Now this technology is not used. We prefer to use the markerless technology. That means that the application is able to recognize some features, some patterns in the real environment and overlap virtual objects. But also, by means of tablets and mobiles, we can use the GPS, the compass that we use in the mobile, and these information are used in order to localize the user, to know the point of view of the user, and can be used to overlap this additional information in order to enhance the real environment. And this technology could be used in many different fields, but in particular in cultural heritage, because it permits to overlap images, text, video, audio, in order to permit the user to better understand the cultural heritage, in order to provide a different modality of travel, and also to guide the user during the exploration of the territory. This picture is very important to understand the difference between the two technologies. You can see on the left the real environment, on the right the virtual environment, and the augmented reality is placed in the middle, but closer to the real environment. That means that the real environment is predominant, and because we continue to see the real environment with additional information, with additional virtual objects. This is very important because we maintain a relationship with the real environment. What is mixed reality? Is an enhancement of the augmented reality because we can place virtual objects in the real environment, but we can place and anchor these objects to the real environment. The virtual objects and the real ones coexist in the same environment, and the user can interact in real time with both of these objects. This is very important. And just to conclude about the technology, you understand that virtual reality immerses the user in artificial environment without any connection with the real environment. Augmented reality overlap virtual objects to the real environment. Mixed reality overlap and anchor these objects to the real environment. All these technologies are called extended reality. a new umbrella, technological umbrella that includes all these different technologies. There are a lot of devices in order to use this technology. You can see, for instance, some helmets, some visors that could be used in the virtual reality application. These are the most used. You can see the Oculus Quest 2 is the first picture, the Oculus Rift S, the second one, or the HTC Vive. And these helmets are used in order to permit the immersion and the navigation in the virtual environment. But we have also devices for augmented reality. You can see in the first picture some kind of glasses, the smart glasses. But we have also some more sophisticated device, like the HoloLens that you can see in the second picture. This is a very, very interesting helmet that permits to overlap virtual objects. The real one is an holographic computer that permits the user to wear this helmet and to go around in the real environment and see different objects, virtual objects, overlap this environment. Let me show you a short movie in order to better understand how works this technology, how works the mixed reality. This is not the second video, this is probably the third one. No, okay, don't worry, it's the same. I will talk about this video later, and I will show you some applications of this. No, don't worry. Later I will show this movie. Okay, we can move please to the next slides. Okay, how these technologies could be used in order to have a smart tourism, in order to enhance the fruition, enhance the valorization of cultural heritage, in order to permit the user to better understand the cultural heritage in general. Extended reality is very interesting because this technology permits to have a different approach to the tourism, to different approach to the cultural tourism, in order to permit to better understand a place before going there, or where you are in loco, it's possible to have additional information in order to permit the user to immerse the user in the virtual environment and to have an evolution of the traditional travel or the traditional way to intend the tourism. Let me show you an application, very, very interesting. This is about the ARA patches. L'ara com'era in Italian, the ARA as it was in English. ARA patches is a very interesting, very important monument in Rome, of course. And this technology, developed a few years ago, permitted to have additional information about the real situation of this monument, because of animation, additional color permits to understand how was this monument in the past at the Roman age. That, of course, was different from the situation in the actual situation, the situation today. And the user can wear some helmet, simple helmet, and to have this information. Let me show you the video, was the first that you showed in the previous slides. Yeah, this is the correct video. You are in Rome, of course.
Telios era l'appellativo dato dai latini alla dea madre che regge e governa la prosperità di tutti i viventi.
Una natura rigogliosa e pacata allude alla pace della nuova età augustea. Il figlio di Alea. Da lui discendono Romolo e Remo e tutta la gente.
Okay, you can understand how this technology permits to improve the knowledge of specific cultural areas, specific monument and place. Let me show you an application that we developed in my lab. You know that this application is about the archaeological areas. In particular, this application is about archaeological area close to Lecce. And you can see in the first picture, in different colors, the three churches, the three monuments that were in different ages in the same place. In the second picture, you can see a picture of the real situation today of this area, obtained by means of drone. In the third picture, you can see a cloud of points that were used in order to develop the augmented reality application. The application is able to recognize these points, to recognize the picture, and to overlap the monuments, the buildings, and the user interface permits to change the age and to visualize the different buildings in different ages. Additional information are provided in terms of text, audio, video, in order to permit to understand perfectly how was this area in the past. I will show you a movie about the use of this application. Sorry, probably the voice is in Italian. You can see the building overlapped on the picture.
Qui, verso la fine del IV secolo d.C., si impianta un piccolo edificio con pianta a croce, inserito in un paesaggio caratterizzato dall'alternanza di terreni coltivati e zone a macchia mediterranea. Nell'area circostante si estende una grande necropoli rupestre, con tombe scavate in corrispondenza degli affioramenti della roccia o all'interno delle grotte. Nella chiesa si può riconoscere un martirium, cioè un edificio religioso dedicato al culto di un martire per la presenza.
I don't know what happens about the audio. You can see that by means the user interface it's possible to change the age and to visualize the different building. If you go, this is visualization is provided by means of the mobile. If you go close to the building, you can go inside to visit the church, also inside, not only outside. And also additional information are provided. You can see the user interface that permits to change the visualization in different ages. Very interesting, this kind of application, because in very simple way, using the mobile, it's possible to receive a lot of additional information about a specific area. Okay, this is just to understand how this kind of application works. Another interesting application developed in my lab is about the Basilica of St. Caterina of Alexandria in Galatina. Galatina is a village close to Lecce. This basilica is very, very interesting. Is one of the most extensive and best conserved cycle of frescoes, late Gothic frescoes. It's a kind of book, very interesting book that you can browse, but it's not so simple to understand this book because there are a lot of different pictures, a lot of different frescoes. The aim of this application is to permit to the user to have additional information in order to facilitate the reading of this very interesting book and going in the basilica, you can follow the 11 points that we chosen in our path and to have additional information. And take into account that the application permits to visualize this information by means of your mobile. And it's interesting because in the frescoes, there are a lot of ancient medieval instruments, musical instruments. If you put these instruments in the visualization by means of the camera of mobile, you can hear also the sound of this specific instrument, musical instruments. We have more than 40 medieval instruments painted in the fresco for this basilica. Let me show you a short movie about the augmented reality application developed in my lab about this church.
Benvenuto nella Basilica di Santa Caterina d'Alessandria. Io sono Pietro Cavoti e ti accompagnerò alla scoperta di questo splendido monumento. Gli affreschi della Basilica di Santa Caterina rappresentano un vero e proprio campionario di tecniche artistiche medievali. Nella scena che vedi è raffigurata l'incoronazione della Vergine. Vedi gli angeli musici? Devi sapere che in tutta la basilica sono dipinti ben 42 strumenti musicali medievali.
Okay, and we developed also an application of spatial augmented reality is better known as video mapping that permits to valorize the monument and to understand about the history of this monument. Please, can you show the next video that was about the application developed in my lab in order to understand how was the facade of the basilica in the past, because also the facade was with a lot of frescoes. Please, yeah. This is special augmented reality video mapping that was used in order to understand how was the basilica. In order to have a continuous path starting from the facade and move to the frescoes painted inside the church.
Io vi ho scelti perché andiate.
Can imagine how impressive it is to use this technology directly on the facade of the church, no? In few minutes, but very intense, in order to understand by means of sounds and video and pictures this history. You can see the lion, because in the portal of this church there are two lions that have on the back the columns. This is an idea how was the facade in the past, because at the moment no information, small information we have about this facade that was completely covered of frescoes. We found in the library pictures or drawings about this facade, and we use it in order to build this augmented reality, spatial augmented reality application. Okay, perfect. Okay, thanks. Okay, another interesting technology are the virtual portals. That are a combination of augmented reality and virtual reality. You can visualize by means of your mobile a virtual door placed in a specific place, and if you cross this door, you are immersed in the virtual environment. You can move in the virtual environment. And this is very interesting in order to have an idea how was some monuments that are completely or partially destroyed at the moment. Let me show you a video about that. You can see that the combination of augmented reality and virtual reality. By means of the augmented reality, you can place the door, the virtual door in the street, like in this case. If you cross the door, you are inside in the virtual environment, the reconstruction of this environment. In this case, it's a sort of museum, and you can see from the door, you can see also the real environment. Interesting combination of these technologies, virtual reality and augmented. Very, very interesting. You can decide exactly where you can play. Okay, thanks. Continue to the next slide, please. Okay, this is the last application that I show you. I told you about the device, the helmet that you use, but it's possible to use your smartphone and a cardboard, like in the picture, where you put your mobile, and you can have in very simple, cheap way information, because it's a sort of virtual helmet. We built an application about the coastal towers that we have in the Salento area. You know the coast of Salento area. In the coast of Salento area, there are a lot of towers that were used in order to see the enemies coming before arriving the coast. And was interesting because some of these towers are destroyed, some are in perfect conditions. Please show the video about that permits to understand how these technologies could be used. For instance, for this, in this case, the tower, but we developed a lot of applications using this technology in my lab, and it's possible to provide a very simple information, in very simple way, a lot of information. You can see that the red point in the screen, if you put this point in some icons on the screen, you can receive visual information. This is one of the towers. You can see, you can provide textual information on the other movie or going inside the monuments, for instance. And this is a very simple, but in particular cheap way, because you don't need any special device. You have to download the app, you have to install your app in the mobile. We can use your mobile and by means of a cardboard, you can receive this additional information in very simple way. The arrows permits, for instance, in that case, to visualize the area around the tower, to come back to the home or to go up. You can see in the next frame, you can see how it's possible to go up the tower or inside, for instance. No? And we used the 360-degree camera in order to build this application, and we provide in this simple way this information. Very, very simple. This kind of application, but could be interesting in order to permit understanding of this monument, in order to facilitate the fruition of this monument. Okay, this is an example. Then you can move to another tower. For instance, you are on the top of the tower, you can see the view, the fantastic view that you can see. Take into account that you see now two different pictures, no? One for each eye, but if you wear this cardboard, you have a single visualization of the environment. This movie was just to understand how this application works. Now we change the tower, another tower, and in the same way, by means of the placing the red point on the icons, you can receive additional information in terms of movie, sound, text, and also animation in a very, very simple way. This is La Palude del Capitano, is an area close to the tower, and you can see this kind of application. We develop an application also for Lecce town, for commercial purposes, for the wineries, and very interesting the use of this simple and cheap technology. Okay, thanks a lot. This is the last slides of my presentation. I'm ready for the questions for the audience.
Okay, so thank you very much, Professor Paolis, for this presentation, especially to give us this insight on the difference between this virtual reality, the augmented reality, the mixed reality. I think maybe we go more into the mixed reality. How do you think that we could apply these technologies to cultural roots? What do you think will be the best technology to be used into cultural roots? I think all of them could be used in a different way. But for instance, Stefano Dominioni was mentioning in his speech that especially cultural roots focus a lot on these rural areas, these areas that are a little bit isolated, where sometimes you have a lot of history, but you don't have so many monuments, or sometimes the monuments are not that well preserved. So which ideas can you give us especially to the people working in the field of the cultural roots on how to use or how to implement these new technologies?
Yeah, I think this the extended reality in general that I told you that include virtual, augmented, and mixed reality is the future for this purpose, for this field, because it's possible to provide information without staying in the place or before going, in order to receive more information before going, or where you are there, you can provide additional information without use the guide, without use the people that guide you, or in parallel to the guided visit of the monument. Because this visual information is more important than the text or the speech of the people, because you are immersed in this environment. But it's also very important because you can visit a place that doesn't exist at the moment, that was not in good condition or were destroyed. We are building, for instance, an application based on the virtual portals in a small village close to Lecce, where was a church in the past. This church was destroyed during the Second War. It doesn't exist at the moment. It's a parking where was the church. And the idea was to place the door of the church there where was the whole door of the real door of the church, and to permit to the inhabitants, the citizens of this area, or the visitors, to download the application, to visualize the door, and to go inside the virtual reconstruction of the church. Now, it was built, this reconstruction, of course, has to be built using the documents in a scientific way in order to provide the correct information about this one. I think that these technologies will be the future in cultural heritage, in the historical roots, because could be also cheap. You don't need, in some case, expensive device like the helmet that I showed you, but you can use the hardware that you have in the pocket. You can use your smartphone, and you need just a cardboard, but the cardboard is very, very cheap. 2 euros could be 2-3 euros could be enough to buy this kind of device.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I even saw that the device that looks a little bit more complicated, more sophisticated, have down the price a lot. Like this kind of device where you can put your mobile phone, you can find them now for 10 euros or something like that. So it can be something very accessible to everybody. I will invite the people who is following us to put your questions in the questions tab. Right now, there is one that is asking for your email address because someone, Pilar Bamonde, was very interested on your contact. So if you are agree, I can share your email address to the people. I saw it was already in your last slides, but I will share your email to the people who is following us because probably they will be very interested to contact you later on this. I have another question for you, and well, you are talking about the future. You just mentioned that this technology will help us a lot in the future. It's true that I didn't see too many people like going with the glasses out there, and it's still not very implemented. I don't know if you have any examples where it is already really used. And I would like also to ask you about what is lacking yet to explode 100% this technology. We know that the 5G technology is almost there. This will maybe help to this. What do you think that is still lacking to develop the potential of these technologies?
Yeah, I want to say that just additional information about these technologies. If you know the hype cycle is a curve that is provide an idea about the emerging technologies. No, these studies provide every year for Gartner, and if you check about the hype cycle of the 2020, for instance, you can see that this curve, the virtual reality, because it's well known. We are used to see a lot of technologies. It's not an emerging technology. It's a solid technology. But you can see the mixed reality, for instance. And probably in the next year, you will not see again the augmented reality. Because also today, there are a lot of applications of augmented reality. What about the developing of this technology? Of course, it's important to study, to be an engineer or a software developer in order to provide this application. But you can have a lot of apps that you can download and or can install in your computer. The device that I showed you, for instance, the HoloLens, unfortunately, the video about the HoloLens disappear, and this helmet is the best mixed reality helmet that we have at the moment. It's not cheap, it's expensive. It was developed by Microsoft, but is without cables, is a computer, holographic computer. The operative system is inside. You can wear and go around to see this additional information. This is the future for me, because the cost of this device is high at the moment, but in the next year, I'm sure that the cost fall down in order to permit to a lot of people to use in very simple way this technology.
So thank you very much. And I guess that we have also to train the people to use it, to the users. What do you think about this?
No. And young people are digital native, for instance, they are used to apply this technology. Also for us, they are a bit older and is very intuitive, the use of this technology. No? For instance, in the last video that I showed you, if you understand that you have to place the right point on the icons, then it's very, very simple to receive this additional information. We are focused on the use of simple application. If the application is very difficult, very hard to use, is not a good application. in all the applications that we develop in my lab, our intention is about the usability of the application and has to be very, very simple.
Okay, that is a good tip. So things has to be very simple to use, very intuitive, so everybody can use it, even people who is not that young or is not that native, because we have also that problem. I mean, most of the tourist people in Europe is not just young people, but also older people that are not that used to new technologies. For them, maybe it could be a little bit more difficult.
I don't think about the old people, but different young people.
Different young people. That's a good point. But what about the specialist people on this? People like you, or the experts on the heritage field? Because I guess all this content has to be developed. Are you well supported? There is a tendency on this? Do you have support from the governments to develop this kind of thing? Is maybe more the private sector who is working and supporting this development of the content, especially the content, because you have to adapt the content to these new technologies, but you also have to go deeper into the research. How is the situation right now with all this?
This is a very interesting question, because in my lab, for instance, there are computer science engineers and also people expert in the cultural heritage. No? For instance, you will see later the application that will show you Carola Gatto, that is a PhD student of my lab. Carola Gatto has a degree in technologies for cultural heritage. That means in this application, there are the engineers that built the application, but in strong collaboration with the expert of the cultural heritage that are able to provide the content of the application. This is a combination of knowledge, and technology together in order to provide an interesting scientific application. This is very important to have both these background. And in my lab, there are half of people that are engineers, half people are experts in cultural heritage.
So you really need to have a good synergies between the people working in the different
synergy
fields.
Is important. It's essential in the developing of this kind of application.
So this is a call also for people working in the cultural fields, so they know they have to count more on you to develop these kind of technologies and to apply these technologies to the cultural roots. I have a couple of questions here. One is from Isokli excuse me for the pronunciation if it is not right, but he says that, or she says that one of the aims of cultural roots is our experiencing of the cultural atmosphere in nature. How can we solve our authentic feelings and emotions with this digital facility? CGMB experienced it, but I mean, he understands this, but maybe he will lose these experiences of experiencing the nature, the atmosphere around these places.
Yeah, there are, of course, different kind of applications, different use of the technology. I showed, for instance, that virtual reality permits to be immersed in the virtual environment, the virtual environment, the virtual reality application. That means that the sense of presence in this environment, it could be a naturalistic environment, or could be inside the church, inside the building, is very important, the sense of presence. But, for instance, when you use the augmented reality, the sense of presence is provided for the real environment, the real building, and you have additional information overlapped. And for instance, in spatial augmented reality or video mapping, because this technology is better known as video mapping, the video, the projection usually is 3-4 minutes long, no more than this. But in this minute, the sensation that you receive is very high, it's very, very impressive, because it's a combination of images, combination of sounds, and permitting few minutes to be immersed, to have an idea of this moment. And that means that the technology are different and the use of this technology is different. But the sense of presence, the sensation that we want to provide to the user is one aim of the development of this application. That could be, of course, completely different. Depends of the field, depends the application, depends of the situation, depends on the feeling that we want to provide to the user.
Of course, and I think that this will help us also to enjoy the things in a different way. That is also the aim, to have more information and to experience a little bit more what was happening maybe in a place. That is Javier Cantera, who asks you if you are developing or implementing any Kinect application for museums.
Yes, of course. Because I told you in the second slide of my presentation that one of the research field of my lab is also human-computer interaction. If you check in the second slides, you can see augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, human-computer interaction. And we use the Kinect in order to permit the interactive application, the interaction with the virtual objects. And we use the Kinect, we use the lip motion. This is another device that permits a different kind of interaction. We use different sensors in order to permit to the user to interact in the virtual environment. And this is very interesting. We also develop application in medicine, and also the Kinect, we use the Kinect in order to evaluate the situation of the body of the patient, or in order to evaluate the improvement of the therapy, in order to check if the patient is able to do some movements of the arm or the legs, in order to verify if the therapy is a good therapy or not. We use it in different applications, the Kinect, but also different sensors like lip motion or the different kinds of sensors.
Okay, so thank you very much.
An interactive application.
Mm-hmm. So thank you very much, Professor De Paolis. I will have more questions, but time is running, so we have to go to the next speaker. But if you can stay with us, maybe at the end of the roundtable we had this afternoon, we can put you more questions. Just, I would like to ask you a question to think about for later, and it's about other applications these technologies have, for instance, for other kind of public. I'm thinking, for instance, on people, disabled people, know how this can help people to just think about this, and maybe you can explain us later on other uses. Other users can have these applications, or even for teaching or introducing this culture and history to the students. Just let us know a little bit later about this.
Anticipate just that we are working in collaboration on another research group that is specialized in the use of brain-computer interface. And we combine the BCI, the brain-computer interface, with augmented and virtual reality in order to answer to your question. But I can provide more details later. Okay, so thank you very much, Professor De Paoli. It was a very interesting presentation. And now I will tell you, see you later, and I will call to the stage to Rita Auriemas. If Rita, can you please come to the stage? Okay, here is Rita. Hope you have a good connections, and you can give your presentation without problems. Mrs. Rita Auriema, excuse me if I don't pronounce it right, it's a new name for me. She's a specialized and professor on cultural heritage department also at the University of Salerno, and she's going to talk us about Salento. And she's is going to talk us about the underwater cultural heritage to the challenge of enhancement, experiences, and projects in Puglia as a sample, but you take us to the different world. You take us underwater. So very curious to hear your presentation, and the floor is all yours. Okay.
Thank you, Miguel. Thank you to the organizing committee for this perfect organization. I have not a good connection, but I hope that everything will okay. So the underwater culture, the underwater culture, I deal with underwater culture, coastal seascapes, cultural roots. And the underwater cultural heritage now today is to the challenge of enhancement, And I'd like to show you some experience and projects that we are carrying out in Puglia region. And yes, between them, the most exhaustive, the most important in this moment is the most articulated, above all, is Underwater Muse project, financed by the Interreg 5th Italy Terrestrial CBC program, Immersive Underwater Museum Experience for a Wider Inclusion. It implies a wide partnership, obviously the Puglia region, that involved the three regional universities, Foggia, Bari, and University of Salento, my university. And which are the finalities, the objectives, the goals of Underwater Muse? The project aims to enhance and make accessible the huge underwater heritage of these involved areas, otherwise invisible or reserved for a few, through the creation of underwater archaeological. The main goal, the main mission is definitively the creation of underwater archaeological parks or blue trails, and through the narrative and communicative use of virtual reality. Professor De Paulis taught us that now is mixed reality. It's better to speak of mixed reality. Between the other planned activities, we implement also a widespread awareness raising and involvement of local actors, the training of diving guides, and also the implementation of a public georeferenced web portal for the virtual exploration of submerged archaeological sites. Yeah, for this main purpose, the valorization of underwater cultural heritage and its increased accessibility, wider accessibility, we have two routes, we have two options. In situ preservation as best option, as recommended by Convention UNESCO 2021, or through the, by means, mixed reality, virtual reality, augmented reality, environment potential. So we can bring the people to the heritage through the in situ preservation and the design of solution for pluristratified and complex site, or we can bring the heritage to the people by means through the innovative technology so well explained, so well illustrated by Professor De Paulis, to make visible the non-visible and to take underwater the non-divers to enjoy, to access to the underwater cultural heritage. So we have two key steps: the Convention on the Protection of Underwater Cultural Heritage in 2001, UNESCO Convention, and the more recent FARO Convention. The key goals of both these conventions are building an archaeology community, building awareness, and obviously they are also our key goals. Cultural heritage as common good and economic resource, archaeology for the territory, archaeology for the environment, archaeology for the community, research, conservation, protection, management, and valorization as links of the same chain. This is the essential, base. The UNESCO Convention on the Protection of the Underwater Cultural Heritage promotes the public access to in situ underwater cultural heritage. And public access means economy, tourism, and leisure diving. But access is not only important in itself, it also contributes to awareness and to joint support for protective approach. Important is to transform the diving community can be not only an important stakeholder in the management and protection, but also shareholder or allies, okay, for the cultural heritage management. But we have another option, we have the second possibility, bringing the heritage to the people. And Professor De Paulis explained perfectly all the interactive digital supports that open a whole new range of possibilities for transmitting correctly information to the public. The new stage, the new and a deep change in progress is represented by the new convention, not new because it was ratified in 2005, and now only the last September has been ratified by Italian Parliament. And between the aims of convention, there is the development of the quality, the improvement of the quality of life. So the human development and the quality of life. But in the Article 10, cultural heritage and economic activity, the convention promotes the awareness and the use of the economic potential of the cultural heritage by the communities. So, in situ preservation and enhancement, the first and best option, means also underwater tourism. And the underwater tourism is combines in a single activity, leisure, sport, culture, and ecology, is highly sustainable, low or zero environmental impact, is very profitable, has a lot of qualities, and it's very, very interesting. But on the other side, implies also elevated cost and a sort of a gentrification. So the question is it a tourism for all? Is the underwater cultural heritage really an heritage for all? So the Underwater Museum project and our projects try to answer to this question, to these questions, and to put in place pilot action for the correct and wider accessibility to underwater archaeological cultural heritage. One of these interventions is in Torre Santa Sabina, a village near Brindisi in Apulia region. As I told you, the Puglia region involved with an agreement the 3 regional universities, but involved also the local actors and the communities. And the choice of Torre Santa Sabina as the setting for this pilot intervention in the framework of the Water Museum project moves from the quality and variety of the archaeological sites and evidences in the bay. The exceptional potential of this millenary landing place is an ideal scenario for a holistic approach to the research. The global archaeology of landscape, in this case, seascapes. It is a real super site with certification of events that are also significant markers of the evolution of the coastal landscape. They are cargoes, hulls, but also remains of quarries and settlement. So a big variety and a big richness of evidences in the sea bottom of Torre Santa Sabina. You can see in the slides some details, some evidences, but I like to show you some of them. For example, the very, very exceptionally preserved late Roman imperial wreck Torre Santa Sabina 1, probably the well-preserved ship, Roman imperial ship in the Mediterranean Sea, with wide, large portions, large parts of the upper part preserved. That is very rare. And also remains of the North African cargo. But we have also other ships in the presence of other ships in this trap bay of Santa Sabina, of Torre Santa Sabina. For example, the ghost ship recently identified with a Venetian, thanks to an accurate research in the Venice archives, identified with the Galea Magna, that after 7 weeks of navigation, a journey started on 11th of November 1597 from Candia, Crete, sank on the 1st January 1598 at the entrance of this Torre Santa Sabina trap bay. And you can see some equipment and weapons, personal weapons from the armory, from on board the armory, and also coin hoards and ceramic of the onboard equipment. But we have another excellent evidence in the sea bottom, in the shallow waters of Torre Santa Sabina, a sort of harbor dump, a submerged stratigraphy resulting from the overlapping of various cargoes during the century at the foot of the reef. This is a real marine cemetery with the different cargoes resulting of the sinking of various ships that crashed against the reef during the centuries. And so you can see this deposit, this interesting context in some points very chaotic, but always very rich and exceptional. But also the entire stretch of coast was mapped with drone flights in order to reconstruct the coastal landscape in the various phases, starting from the Bronze Age. And we used obviously all the solid, all the well-known tools, instruments at our disposal are now available, underwater photogrammetric survey and 3D modeling, but also multi-beam echo sounder survey, ROV survey for the underwater exploration. And we are now designing a solution for this pluristratified and complex site, and we are, considering reproduction of the stratigraphy and the other archaeological materials in situ. It's not easy to design, to propose, to imagine, a design solution for this kind of site. It's not only a wreck, a field of amphoras. It's a pluristratified and very versatile and very rich site. So it's complex site. So it's not so easy. We are thinking of signals, labels, tags, and QR codes. You can see in the other some examples in the other slide. In this slide, many of these tools and solutions have been already well experienced, well tested, and we propose also viewers, underwater viewers connected to an area for reading the data recorded on tags in the labels for the augmented or mixed reality, but underwater. And also another interesting solution is the relocation of the context. So the materials once recovered at the time of the excavations of the previous research can be relocated, as in these examples in France. And yes, we have after the valorization, we must manage with the site supervision and monitoring. This is very important. And we can manage with the technical method and technical instruments, sonar buoys, satellite monitoring, and so on. But above all, we have to manage it with the educational, social, inclusive methods, because educating the local community and interested groups is yet another crucial element of the principles of protection and monitoring. So this is a crucial point, a crucial passage for the valorization, for the enhancement of the underwater cultural heritage, the involvement of local communities. And yeah, we are putting in place action plan for the valorization of this site. The first thing is a feasibility study for Torre Santa Sabina with the design of the, it has been designed the waterfront and also the maritime museum that will host, hopefully, the the shipwreck of Torre Santa Sabina 1. Waterfront and museum connected to the archaeological park or blue trails. And now we are evaluating also the recovery and the restoration of Torre Santa Sabina 1 ship, and also the building of a physical floating replica, the implementation of a fulfillment of the physical floating replica of the same shipwreck. But first of all this operation, all this, task, goals, perspective, need essentially one thing: a strong involvement of citizens and enterprises, and strong involvement of the local communities that have to assume the responsibility of their own heritage. Another bringing the people to heritage, another case study is the marine protected area of Porto Cesareo on the Ionian Sea, on the Ionian coast. Very rich, charming, seascape, fantastic seascape with a lot of evidences, and you can see in the map an extraordinary potential for the creation of an underwater archaeological park. And this work is in progress. We are carrying out with the help, obviously in synergy with the superintendents, with the national superintendents of for the underwater cultural heritage and local superintendents. Another important evidence, another important site in the same marine protected area is the submerged part of the Bronze Age settlement of Scaldifurno that implies, the evolution that suggests a big evolution in the coastal landscape, and also archaeological deposits along the coast. But very interesting cargoes, for example, this scenographic formation resulting from the scattered cargo of Tripolitanian oil amphoras, but also the a very impressive shipwreck of the columns of Navis Lapidaria with this monumental Cipollino marble columns coming from Evia Island in Greece, from the Charistos quarries. And also isolated or the contextualized finds, such as the precious statue of God Thoth in green basalt, or again, the medieval beach wreck of Bacino Grande, linked to another important discovery, the ring seal of Protospatari of Byzantium, called Basilios, a very important personage, and the late medieval beach wreck located near Sierra Peninsula. You see a lot of, of sites of evidence that can obviously contribute to the transformation, to the improvement of this marine protected area in a underwater archaeological park, underwater archaeological and environmental park. But also ancient quarries located along the coast, such as in this one in Torre Castiglione. We have a model, we have some guidelines, because the underwater archaeological park in Porto Cesareo can move from another experience, the underwater archaeological park in Baia. It is the same. It is a twin case, because it's at the same time in Baia we have underwater archaeological park and marine protected area. But in the interministerial decree says a very important thing. It implies the promotion of a socio-economical development compatible with the historical and landscape evidences of the area, also sustaining existing local traditional activities. So it stresses an important connection between the cultural heritage and the local and the quality of life of local communities, Another example, bringing the people to the heritage. Another example of in situ preservation and enhancement is the marine protected area of Torre Guaceto. We designed archaeological and naturalistic and proposed and realized archaeological and naturalistic trails with reproduction of archaeological artifacts. And also, let's move to another important project, Mare Museo Salento project, in progress, that aims to enhance with the solution of the in situ musealization some cargoes on shipwrecks. For example, the cargo of Santa Caterina, the shipwreck of Santa Caterina, or Scogli delle Due Sorelle, but also modern post-medieval shipwreck, such as the Lecesine shipwreck on the Adriatic coast with cannons dated back to 18th, 19th century, or the wonderful site and wonderful cargo of marble sarcophagi in San Pietro in Bevagna, close to Taranto. A wonderful, exceptional underwater archaeological park. Or another cargo, very particular, very peculiar, mortaria recipient, for the preparation for the food preparation, and basin cargo dated to the 1st century AD, that is preserved, cemented, concreted in the cuts of the bedrock. But also, for example, the Torre Sinfono wreck. In this case, we propose the in situ preservation with the use of metallic cages, as well tested, well experienced in various sites in Croatia along the Dalmatian coast. But also another project is the Ugento Sommerso project. In this case, we implemented naturalistic and archaeological trails, multilingual video, and other information and communication materials. But for the non-divers, so in the other option, not only in situ enhancement, we have to bring the heritage to the people. And so the use of ICT for an alternative fruition is obliged. And in this case, I like to to mention to you, to present to you, the Puglia region Seascapes project, the underwater wonderland of ancient Puglia, to research of seascapes archaeology that have been turned into 2 storytellings and 2 hubs, because yes, it's you know, the hub, the essential thing is obviously for the knowledge, the sharing, and the wider accessibility to the underwater cultural heritage is the story. Okay, I have to conclude.
We are already half an hour, so I leave you a few more minutes to finish.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So for the shipwreck of the columns in Porto Cesareo, we carried out the photogrammetric survey and the elaboration of the shape of the boat, and with two solution by sail, propulsion by sail, or a towed barge, and then from the research to the valorization, storytelling and production planning in this phase of obviously archaeologists, 3D animators, and creative modeler worked together. These are the various phases of the working process, and you can see the development phase, a sequence of immersive and interactive scenes with the point of interest for audiovisual deepenings. And obviously, as already showed by Professor De Paulis, the device is Oculus Quest 2, and you can see also the chronological sequence from the 2nd, 3rd century AD to the current, to today, to the current moment. And the same workflow was applied also for the Torre Guaceto Marine Protected Area, in this case for a ghost ship of Torre Guaceto. And also in this case, we narrated the final act of an unfinished journey in dynamic landscapes. I'm sorry not to play the video, but I send you the link to both the video. But we have also the contribute of the 3D modeling, in this case for the storytelling of a precious scrap, for in the case study is the shipwreck of Punta del Serrone that transported 200 bronze statues fragments destined to be recast. And in this case, through the 3D creative modeling, we reintegrated the fragments and retaken the statues in the original aspect as precious icons. But also for not only in situ enhancement, we have other possibility: museum displays, installations, exhibition, ships replicas, as you can see in the Torre Guaceto Tower, in the permanent exhibition inside the Tower of Guaceto, but also in the Castro Mediano Museum in Lecce. These are the section called Seascapes, Paesaggi di Mare in Italian. The Educational Museum of Ancient Sea of Nardò, and also the Museum Aquario of Santa Maria al Bagno, with this, merge between the environmental and cultural heritage. And also exhibition, in this case, the dissemination and storytelling through the international cooperation. This is, a picture of the international exhibition in Trieste, 2018, with materials from Puglia, and also the second edition in Salento, this time in the Brindisi Airport gate for the whole Salento, ended in the last January. And these are some pictures of the exhibition displayed in all the airport. And to conclude, the last act, the final act, important, you know, an important decision of Puglia region is the foundation of important choice of Puglia region is the foundation of an Euro-Mediterranean Center for Seascapes Archaeology that will deal with research and cataloging, conservation and restoration, education and training, dissemination and communication, fundraising international product, but above all, deal with the valorization and the tourist enjoyment. Thanks.
So thank you very much, Professor Rita Uriema, for your presentation. It was really interesting. You bring us to this new war underwater, which is very specific. Is something we don't talk too much about. I still remember when I was put in contact with you and I asked you for a picture, and you sent me this picture for the invitation, and you were like in the boat. And I thought with a strange picture, and now I understand everything because you live.
I'm a diver. Obviously, I'm a diver.
You are a diver, and
so I gave you my usual aspect when I work.
That was good because it was an unusual also picture for a teacher for a presentation like this, but now we can understand also why it was like that. And we see also that you focus in a very specific field which we don't work too much, but it's also very related with the cultural roots, because even I was watching the last slides you were showing on this boat arriving to the coast, and just recently we published a book on the last on the first travel of Charles V, who was coming in a boat, the Angele boat, who was going down to the water 2 years later. Yeah, and it was discovered just a few years ago that the boat was there down the water in north of Spain, and a very good book was just published and presented like 1 month ago. And this gives us also the importance of this heritage, which is underwater, related with the cultural roots. I can imagine, for instance, the people from the Hansa route, who are the maritime routes, also commercial routes across the world, that has a lot of heritage like this. I don't know if they thought on this, but maybe they can find an opportunity on this work you presenting on how to really enhance the heritage of the cultural roots thanks to this work. But it looks like something very specific. And at the same time, it looks like it's going from the touristic point of view, from the cultural point of view. Of course, from the cultural point of view, we have to protect, we have to identify our heritage. I guess you find a lot of problems for protection, or maybe who is the owner of the heritage you find underwater. How do you solve, or which are the common problems do you normally find on this work you have?
Of course, I would like to underline your speech, your words about the cultural roots and the contribution of the underwater archaeology. Only a brief, short observation. The sea,
I think we have a little problem with your sound. Let's check if we can fix it. I think your image and your sound was frozen. Now it looks, no, I think we lost your connection. Maybe you can still hear us. Let me check if you are still online. And yeah, I see you are still online. So maybe you can come back to the yeah, you are there.
Yeah. Sorry for
it's
this.
Okay, no problem.
This connection not so good. Yeah, the sea. I was telling, the sea has been in all the epochs, in every epoch, in every period, the best way of communication. It's a bridge. It's the best bridge between the culture, and everything. Journeys by sea. Everything journeys by sea. In only, yes, in our epoch, now in our age, this framework is changing, but until some decades ago, everything journeyed by sea. So the sea linked always, has always linked, connected the people, the communities, was always the best way of know-how, of languages, of traditions, of culture, of everything. So the underwater archaeology, the underwater cultural heritage can give a big contribution to the study, to the research of, and to the implementation of European Mediterranean cultural roots. So yeah, opportunity and risk for the underwater cultural heritage. The public access, as you listened, is very promoted by the Convention UNESCO as the best option, but implies some risks. But we have to, to raise the awareness of the community. If the community feels the community feels the underwater heritage as its own heritage, it will be in charge, it will assume the responsibility to defend, to safeguard, to protect it. So this is the key of the process, the involvement of local communities in a perspective of safeguarding of cultural heritage. And so if the local association, local agency for the territory, municipalities, environmentalist associations, group of interest, participate to this common effort in order to protect their own heritage, because they know it, they recognize it as common good, and good, important for their own identity. So the underwater cultural heritage will be preserved, because the only the action of the protection bodies, of the protection authorities, it's not enough. It's not so
And how do you manage to involve the communities, especially the local communities, on this? How do you do that? Because I guess you can sell them, or you can explain it that it has it's very important for the heritage, for the history, to preserve their own heritage, but it also has a very important impact economically, because especially in the diving sector, there is a lot of money moving in the ship sector also. So it's something very dynamic from the economic point of view. Do they understand this? So this is maybe the main motivation?
This is the point. This is the point. To convince, to persuade the people that their own heritage is not only a resource for the human development, for growth, for increasing the quality of their life, but also it's it's a resource for the economic development of the community, of the territory, because for example, the underwater tourism, I told you, is very profitable. Is a very profitable tourism, very integrated with all the facilities, with all the tourist system chain. So the improvement of the underwater tourism means improvement of a chain, of other facilities, other tourist services, and in this way of all the territory. But yes, it must be an access controlled, guided. For example, the underwater museum project will deal also with the educational with the training of underwater archaeological guides in order to prepare underwater guides capable to conduct, to guide, along these blue trails, underwater tourists.
Yeah, so again, to train the guys and the right people to show this heritage is very important, and we have to invest a lot on guiding.
Guide, underwater guide, but probably that must be also archaeologists. So archaeologists that who become training underwater guides. So in this way, you have the correct approach, the right access, with no risk for the integrity of the monument of the underwater cultural sites, and the enjoyment, the full enjoyment of this common good.
And I guess because this is something very special, very specific also, and because the conditions to identify, to preserve, to rescue, even to bring out and to prepare into the museums, it has a very special cost. Which are the main institutions that can be financing this? I have three questions concerning the funding. One is who are normally the main funders of them? Who are the main institutions at local, national, maybe European level? Do you have any European funding for this? There is a specific program that maybe you can orientate us about any specific European program to fund this kind of projects? And also, how this pandemic affect the work you are doing right now on underwater heritage? Because I guess most of the funding now, as in everything else, is going to social funding to recover employment, to recover enterprises. But heritage has a special impact, and maybe many resources will be reduced. But I can guess that in your field, in the underwater heritage, the impact of economic support will be bigger. How is the situation right now?
Okay, many questions.
Many questions, but one topic.
Okay, I know very well obviously the Italian situation, that it's not very easy. It's not so supported by institutions. But in the last year was an important, very important news, the very important change, the creation of the national superintendents, because in Italy we didn't have it, the national superintendents for the underwater cultural heritage. So, a specific office of the Ministry of Culture, a general office devoted to the research, valorization, protection, conservation of the underwater cultural heritage. So this is an important change, an important improvement. It will collaborate with other the local superintendencies in order to to carry out expertises or specific researches in synergy. So it will work in synergy with the local superintendencies. And but in this way, we can start with a, general planning, because we need a general policies and general planning for the preservation and valorization of the cultural heritage, not single episodes, not single casual, acts, but one very aimed plan, aimed to the whole valorization. The Underwater Museum project, as you saw, is, for example, is financed by a community program, Italia-Croatia, and all the big project of underwater archaeology that I know, for example, Cosme, BlueMed, or other, between Italy, France, Greece, big project with a lot of economical resource, were financed by EU funds. So this is the main way.
The main sources.
But a big role is played also from the local territorial institution, such as the regions in Italy. For example, in Italy, the Puglia region is very careful, is very sensitive, is very available to boost, to foster this kind of enhancement. So we are carrying out a lot of things. The underwater archaeology implies, as I told you, high costs for both for research and valorization, because, for example, we are evaluating the recovery of the Torre Santa Sabina 1 ship. Mm-hmm. Probably it will be very, very expensive, but now with the recovery plan, we have a lot of possibilities. Mm-hmm. Will be opened. So we have to follow this type of opportunity. Mm-hmm. with paying very, very attention, because it could be the best moment. Because also in Italy, the underwater archaeology, the European underwater archaeology was born in Italy with this big personage, Nino Lamboglia. Yeah. But in the last year, the research, also the valorization planning plans have fallen down, so have been strongly reduced. So we have now the opportunity to candidate new program, but in a exhaustive vision, in an exhaustive framework, not only for episode or for single intervention.
Yeah, of course.
But something more complete, more articulated, more exhaustive. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we have now a big opportunity, as you say, with the recovery plan from the European Union, and we have to count on the European funds to get out from this crisis, but especially for projects like this that have a big potential for the future. And it's very interesting. I mean, you mentioned the example of Italy. You focus on a very specific place and a very specific examples. But I was watching I was following the chat, and it was, for instance, Inger Harleby, which is the director of the Hansa Routes, that they was mentioning that the underwater heritage is really interesting, and they have a vast number of ships in the Baltic Sea that they know they are there, and they work on that too. And I'm sure that many of the routes, as I mentioned you before, can explode and can explore a little bit further this heritage that sometimes is a little bit hiding from the general public. Hopefully, through your presentation, we give more visibility to this, and maybe you can join us later at the end in the debate. But now we have to go home, because the time flies, and even the flights that doesn't work right now and they are canceled, and we cannot fly too much, but the time flies still. And it was very interesting, your presentation. So I thank you very much, Rita, for it. And hopefully you can join us later in the final debate. So right now I will invite, we will go into a roundtable with a little bit shorter presentations. And I would like to invite now to Professor Tomasz Duda, who is coming from Poland. So maybe Professor Duda can join us now into the stage. He's a professor at the Institute of Spatial Management and Socio-Economic Geographic University of Szczecin, if I pronounce it right. How do you pronounce?
Szczecin.
Szczecin. Well, more or less. It's better you pronounce it. But you are right now in Poland and you work a lot also in this field. You titled your presentation "Digital Interpreting Tools as a New Perspective for Cultural Natural Tourism Routes, especially in context of transboundary multinational heritage routes." Professor Duda, thank you very much for joining us here today in this interesting afternoon. And you have 20 minutes for your presentation, and the floor is yours. I will put your presentation in a few seconds.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Miguel. Good afternoon to all, to everybody interested in participating in this conference. Good afternoon, Miguel. Buenas tardes, Miguel.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the effort.
And okay, so beside my work as academic at the University of Szczecin, I am working also as a tourist guide. So sometimes when I'm looking at these presentations, which we saw before, so maybe I should feel a little bit scared, a little bit nervous because losing my job. Because I don't know if the new technology and some virtual tools will replace the real guides. But happily, of course, it doesn't work like that. And I would like to, my proposal is just to talk a little about the interpretation, about the way of communication between the place, between the heritage place, heritage sites, or for example, heritage route, of course, and the recipient, tourists, people who visit that places. Because of the location of my living place and my working place, I've been strongly linked to the cross-border area, cross-border zone, where for many years has been an overlap of different approaches to the same shared heritage. This heritage was shaped by the complicated history, social changes, also after the Second World War. So we are facing a lot of problems with communication along the roads, and along the places with the same shared heritage, the historical place. I don't know if you can see it properly. It's in a bigger picture, but you know why the issue of interpretation itself is one of the key elements in perceiving and understanding heritage routes. The way of its using and applying the right tools is still a challenge in tourism and cultural tourism, especially in contemporary tourism. One of the most known practitioners and educators, Freeman Tilden, the author of book Interpreting Our Heritage, just as early as in the 1950s, he identified 6 basic principles of interpretation, of which I would like to pay particular attention to one of them. Look at this number 2. Information as such is not interpretation. Interpretation is a revelation based upon the information. It sounds like a poem, really, but this statement shows that the great importance of the way information is communicated and the need is to establish a relationship between the visitor and the heritage site or heritage routes. Every heritage site, regardless if it's a place or route, tells the story. Every heritage site has a communication and send the information to the recipients, to tourists, to the visitors. But this information normally has been encoded by the cultural code, by the individual symbols, sites, known only to people who are linked to the heritage site, who are linked to all these things connected with the heritage. But to the rest of the people, this could be encoded. And the interpretation and the interpretation's aim is to decode the message, decode this information. And especially, we all know that the tourist route is a special system, it's a special tourist system, where the presentations of the region's heritage is presented in different way compared to the individual sites. And we have to sometimes to think about it. What is the route's communication to its potential user? What if the route, for example, communicates in different ways, especially when the route is located in different countries and links different nations which have the same history or the same heritage? We have this situation, for example, here in Poland, when I live in Szczecin, the former capital of Duchy of Pomerania. Pomerania is a historical region located in Germany, partially in Germany, and part of this historical region is located in Poland. Two different nations, two different languages, two even different religions, but the same heritage. And we have to use some tools to understand each other and to understand the message which is sent by the heritage site or by the historical aspects of the place. One of the greatest challenges of contemporary culture tourism is, as I said, is to understand the message that's been sent to the tourist by the place, especially along the routes. As I said before, the routes are a very specific form of heritage interpretation sites, and very specific systems, because a part of the particular places, there are some other interesting things which are very important to understand the thematic role of the route. For example, the narrative continuum is a very important in the route, in context of objectives theme, in context of time sequence. Sometimes we are visiting some places located on the route, and according to this time sequence, we have to visit another place which is located very far from this place. And how do we have to jump from one place to another one? And we should use some maybe digital, some virtual tools just to connect these places. For example, along the routes, we have some different physical, mental, social, and cultural accessibility. We have to crossing borders, we have to break barriers we have sometimes to touch the invisible places which are not accessible every time to every people. Sometimes we have situations that we have one space, one history, one heritage, but many ways of perception. And decoding individual information, understanding the authenticity of the place, understanding the cause-effect sequence. We have to explain this for our visitors. And in the same time, we have to preserve the unique genius loci of the place. And that's the most important, and that's the most difficult sometimes place. And it's not very good to explain it by the virtual tools. Sometimes we need the real guide, the real human contact with other place, just to feel the atmosphere of the place. And of course, we use some tools, some digital, some virtual interpreting tools, and sometimes we use the classic interpreting tools. It depends on the aspect we should to interpret and aspects we should to explain, to educate our tourists and visitors who come to this place. Especially in the first one, the narrative continuum, there's a very good field to use the digital virtual interpreting tools, because we could touch the invisible, touch something which is not accessible in the right place, in the right time. Of course, in these two other challenges, like changing the accessibility, or for example explained many ways of perception, we can use both digital and virtual tools and classic, like a guiding, for example. And there are some aspects, like the last one, decoding individual information, understanding the authenticity, which is better to interpret using the classical way of narrative and classical way of interaction between guide and place, of course. In this tool's effectiveness and this tool significance, it's decreasing or increasing depending on the way of presenting and the way of interpreting of that place. I would like to show you some example, some case from my region, because I know this region very well, and we are trying to use some different ways of interpretation and different ways of different forms of narrative tools, just to explain the difference and the unique character of the route. I'd like to present to you the griffin. Look at that. The griffin is a legendary creature with the body, tail, and the back legs of a lion, and the head and wings of an eagle. And since historical time, since antiquity, it presents like a symbol of power and the guardian of the divine. And this symbol, over time, became also a symbol of the ducal dynasty in our region, in Pomerania, one of the longest ruling dynasties in Europe, over 550 years, unbreakable ruling dynasty. And the griffin became a symbol used, among others, in coats of arms of Pomeranian towns, of regions, based on this creature, based on this dynasty, the griffin's route were launched, and now we are facing some challenges, some maybe not the problems, but the challenges, okay, just to connect people living in different countries, because the route connects many places once linked to the Griffin dynasty. But today, these places are located in 4 different countries: in Poland, in Germany, also in Sweden and Denmark, southern Scandinavia, thanks to the King Eric of Pomeranian. Eric the Pomeranian was our Duke, Pomeranian Duke, who became a king of the Kalmar Union, first king of 3 Scandinavian countries, Denmark, Sweden, and Norway. And today, these places are interpreted differently, not only by visitors in each of these countries, but also by the inhabitants of the region themselves. That's the interesting, and that's the problem, how to teach the people about the common history, common elements of heritage, using different tools of narration, especially in context of some linguistic barrier, some cultural barrier, some religious even barrier between these two countries. The interpretation of tourism space is the interpretation of information sent as a signal. It's a signal. It's a signal. It's information sending to recipients, to visitor, and this information consists of a package of resources: tourist attractions, cultural values, traditions, symbols, signs, etc., etc. And usually, this information is being coded in some way with the appropriate the cultural code, and we need something to decode it. And we put the virtual interpreter who decodes the cultural message according to its universal meaning, including, for example, local or regional significance, role of the heritage. But the most important role of the virtual tool, it's to cross the barrier, to involve, for example, to involve the recipient, the tourist, in the active experience of the region. For example, giving them the knowledge, giving them the appropriate narration, which is personalized to the individual people because of the problems with language, for example, or problems of with understanding of the cultural code of the place. These interpreters allows us to strengthen the signal, the information. Because look, for example, on the barrier number 2, accessibility. Accessibility or lack of accessibility can weaken the information by up to half. The research showed that up to half the signal is weakened to going to the tourist, and we need something just to have it more strong, especially in relation of the signal. And going back to our route, our Griffin route, we use different forms, different ways of interpretation. In some places, in some situation, especially just to feel the atmosphere, to feel the geniality of the place, we use the classic interpreting tools, like you can see on the lower photographs on this presentation. We use just normal guides, wearing sometimes the historical clothes, or using some different forms of narration directed to, for example, young people, to children. Another one, different narrative is sending to the adults, or something like that. In some cases, we use like a mixed tools, partially the virtual, like for example in the middle of this picture you can see the narrative guiding. We've heard about the narrative guiding and the virtual pilgrimage in St. Olaf's Way. We did the same with the Pomeranian Way of St. James, the virtual guiding. We are also trying virtual guiding along the Griffin's route. We have to find some Griffin's treasures using some applications, mobile applications, but we need sometimes the real human guide just to help to understand the rules of the game or the fun. And sometimes in some places we use totally virtual tools like virtual reality or augmented reality, just to show the places which are not accessible to normal place, and especially to so many people in the right time in the right place. And to sum up, just to conclude all these things, we can observe that digitization and virtualization of the experience along the route respond to the demand and tourist expectations. Focus on the individual activity, deeper destinations experience, building bridges between the cultures and borders. This virtualization of experience is a kind of decoder that translates the emitter's message so that it's readable and understandable for the recipient. Digital experience allows to avoid numerous barriers like linguistic, economic, religious, political, physical, so. These barriers are limiting access to information. And thus help to understand message of the destination using these virtual tools. Digital tools help to engage many sense with exploration experience of destination's heritage. They introduce elements of route gamification, allowing for alternative and narrative relations between the route and visitor. But we have to remember about one thing. There are some elements that seem to be irreplaceable because there are need for non-verbal contact with another person, and the sense of specific atmosphere, the place destination, the genius loci. We need sometimes the real contact, not with the electronic devices, not with the virtual tools, but with the normal talk between two people. That's also the very important thing in interpretation along the tourist roads. Okay, thank you very much. I know that it's a very comprehensive subject, but you know, we can discuss about it later, a lot of things, and we can explain it. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Professor Duda, for your presentation. It was very interesting. Thank you also to stick to the time that you were allocated. You were just on time, and it was really interesting, and especially focusing on this topic of interpretation of the heritage and how to use the different tools and combining them with the new technologies, which is something that well, I was about to say new, but it's not new at all. I mean, we have been always using different kinds of new technologies to understand better the heritage, even on television or radio before, because they were able to explain in a better way the heritage. But you focus on something very special. No, it was the cross-border region, the cross-border arena, where different cultures mix together, and where they have different visions from the same heritage. I mean, you mentioned they have different cultures, they have different languages, different histories, but they are sharing the same heritage, which is a very specific point. And especially in Europe, where we have so many. We talk about Europe like a continent, but where we have many borders, many cultures, even within a country. We see these borders, no, the traditional borders at the regional level or at province level, even at local level. So borders are always there, and this makes things more complex, especially for the interpretation. I guess there is a special sensibility to consider on all this, to don't hurt. To be careful about especially when you talk about history, no? How do you think we should manage this sensibility? Because at the end, when you are talking about the monument, probably if you are talking about the monument that is 500 years old, many cultures went through that monument, and everybody wants to belong to that. So which are you advise to tackle this problem?
I think that the most important in that situation is just education. We have to educate the people, the local societies, local people living in the region, to educate about the heritage. And we have to make some compromises sometimes, and to get that point that we are linking, that linked us together. And based on that point, we could create some way of narrative and the way of creating the tourism product, let's say like that. So I think that the most important is education, and the next step is compromise and building some things which are linking us together.
Okay, thank you very much. I think it goes very in line with the question that Monica Garcia, which is the one of the directors of the Organization for Ibero-American Studies, the cultural organization, and she was mentioning that would like to know a little bit more about the potential in relation with the educational field as a pedagogical tool of this interpretation.
Yeah, so as I said, that the education, I think it's most important, one of the most important things in the whole interpretation process.
Yeah, of course, and this is really essential. And I have a question for you, because we are talking a lot about these new technologies, and we have been living for 1 year and a half on the virtual world. This webinar is an example of that. And maybe people has been tourism or visiting places through internet or through different applications and so on. And how do you see that in the future? Because I guess people wants to come back to the physical thing. They want to come back to feeling the heritage, the patrimony. Do you think people will be a little bit tired of new technologies? How we are going to do that in the future? Because we are willing to go out and to visit and to travel, but really feeling and moving and touching the things. How we can balance this thing with the new technologies? Or this special situation right now.
This is a particular situation. Yeah, it's, you know, first of all, we should know that we shouldn't link the virtual development of the virtual tools with the pandemic time, because we had these virtual tools before, and the pandemic time just accelerated maybe the development of these tools at that time. And we still, even if we are tired of the virtuality and some virtual guiding or something like that, but we in many cases we need these tools just to recognize place, especially from that side we cannot access in normal way. Even if we are, of course, in the field, and we are with a classic guide, and we are in normal relationship with people, sometimes we're just standing in front of the building, but we cannot access to some places. And the virtual tools help us just to touch the invisibility. As I said before. And I think that, okay, we have to find a balance, and we have to not only base our experience on virtual tools, but make a balance and link the virtual and the classical forms of interpretation. That's the solution.
That will be a big challenge for us in the future, but of course we have to learn to live with new technologies, and maybe some people will prefer to continue with new technologies, no? Because now we got used so much to that maybe it will be difficult to understand the things in a different way. I will have to go to the next speaker, but before I leave you a question to answer it later.
Okay.
And it's about the danger that maybe this new technology can put for guides, for instance, because maybe we are going to depend a lot of on new technologies to interpret the heritage, and maybe we will not be counting anymore on guides, on personal guides, on people. How do you see that? Don't answer to me now, but you maybe can answer to me later during the final debate.
Yeah, so we'll talk about it.
Thank you very much, Professor Duda.
Thank you.
And now to go on, I'm going to call to the stage to the next speaker. She's Anna Trono. She's professor also of cultural heritage at the cultural department of the University of Salento in Italy. She's one of the guilty persons of being here in this webinar today, organizing these webinars. She was contacting all the speakers and proposing this topic within the European roots of Charles V. She's member of the scientific committee of Charles V. So we had the chance to visit the city of Lecce and the south of Italy, where there is many heritage related with Charles V, many towers that I don't know if maybe some of the photos that were shown before in one of the presentations by Professor Lucio, were some of these towers related with Charles V, and there is a big heritage there, and she's a big specialist on this topic. She titled her speech, "Cultural Roots and New Technological Knowledge as an Important Tool of Regional growth." Professor Trono, it's a pleasure for me to be here with you. Thank you for being here with us and to share your knowledge with the audience. The floor is yours, and you have 20 minutes.
Thank you very much, Miguel. Thanks a lot for giving me and all the colleagues the opportunity to discuss about cultural roots. I say good evening or good afternoon to everybody, and I will start my presentation underlining the importance of the cultural roots. Cultural roots encourage sustainable tourism. Cultural roots give the opportunity to local community and to local authorities from different sides, regional, national, and local authorities, to have more knowledge of the heritage. And of course, the new technologies and application will give to the tourists, I say to the walkers, the best way to know the place along the road, facilitating also the orientation and the demand of knowledge of the context. Of course, the techniques for accessibility and the tourism promotion are become more, I can say, stronger with the new navigation methodologies. And through some roundup of our project on cultural heritage roots, I can focus how important are these new methodology. Also in the new project that we just closed some months ago. But just I like to mention some important cultural roots, such as the Camino de Compostela, that was one of the examples for encourage the participation in this path, just giving some voice-activated GPS system and to sites orientation, in addition to the traditional system available on the site. Another example in the specific field of religious itineraries, among the most recent contribution, of course, is the Francigian nel Sud, Francigian, Southern Francigian, was recognized just 1 year ago. And they give also just more interesting indication about the points of interest with audio, video aids, photo, maps, text. And I like also to indicate just some part, some stretch of the route where we walked a lot. It is just southern part of Puglia region, where we focus on some historical analysis, cultural heritage, but also we produce a GPS mapping definition of the route. But I think that more interesting what we have done with the ways to Jerusalem is I can say an international itinerary on maritime, cultural, pilgrimage routes. These routes recreate the medieval system of territorial and maritime commerce and the pilgrimage routes to Jerusalem, putting together two routes. One is the Itinerarium Burdigalense, another one is the Danubian Way. Both goes to Jerusalem. It is very important that we are trying to give indication about each place of the ways to Jerusalem, not only along the ways because it's a maritime route, but represent in a node some ICT solution that can help the tourists and the pilgrims for better travel and the cultural experience. It's a work in progress at this project. Another project is related to dry stone roads. We know that dry stone now is 2 years ago was recognized for UNESCO or World Heritage. And we decided to study some years ago with Greece, with Zagori municipalities, to study this type of stones, also to definition of a sheet census of the dry stones, mapping the structures, but also try to do some dimensional relief for these three types identified the area. This is a very rural area, just on the bottom, that needs to be discovered by the tourism that is becoming more stronger, is stronger in the last couple of years, 5, I can say more years. And we built some 9 dry stone cultural routes. So you can see we decide to give emphasis to this poor settlement, very ancient but poor settlement, and we recognize in them the opportunity to offer to the tourists like a temple, like a church, a big museum, because in these routes you can find really the culture, the heritage of these communities. We are losing because a little of migration from this area, and we have done these tourist routes on the landscape and the museum in Poggiardo of these routes and the three-dimensional reconstruction. But what is more important for me, because it puts more attention, devotes more attention to the new technologies, is a new project. Really, we are going to conclude this project. Is a QNEST project. I would focus on this project your attention, also because we work together with the colleague from the laboratory of Lucia De Paulis, with the colleague. You can see at the end how the normal cultural, traditional cultural routes could open to new technologies through the collaboration with engineers. So the traditional cultural heritage could be more interesting and involving all the stakeholders and local communities with the new technology. Just to say something about this project. The project for us is the launch on Adriatic Ionian Vision, the strategy for development of a new quality of tourism, because along the coast there is mass tourism, a really strong tourism. So we should like to promote the internal area, we would like to promote the rural area, and the cultural heritage, nature, art, and the craft, food, tradition of this Ionian Adriatic region, and also enhance their accessibility. And we decide to involve the local stakeholders, building a quality brand. We need a quality brand for selecting really the area and give it to the tourism the best. We were a lot. We were 8 partners from different regions, from different countries. You can see from the Greece, from eastern part of Greece, Santi, Chamber of Commerce, the University of Ioannina, also from Montenegro, some enterprises related to the tourism sector. Also, we had the Cooperative Labirinto close to accessibility tourism, also the Chamber of Commerce in Veneto and Croatia, and the University of Primorska. Together, we decide as a main goal to transform cultural and natural heritage into growth assets, designed a new solution which take into account sustainability and innovation measures. So in the quality network for sustainable tourism was our target. And we would like to increase skills and knowledge through trainings in brand management, preservation of natural and cultural heritage, sustainable producing, sustainable tourism, create a common brand which identify quality standards for sustainable tourism, and develop a web-based platform and application for sharing knowledge and promotion of new tourist offers. And there was some pilot action for planning and testing new tourist offers, such as new itineraries and routes. So we choose 4 drivers: cultural heritage, Mediterranean diet, environment, accessibilities. And along these 4 drivers, we decided to choose some pilot areas into the regions of the partnership, and we produce local baseline studies, and we made some scouting of 100 best practices, point of interest and projects. And after that, we worked for 1 year for find a common brand identity for quality stakeholders, quality members as best practice for an inclusive and transnational network. And this was the first step also for institutional recognition of our Cunest brand. After that, we had a lot of meetings, train the network, a cycle of train the network in each pilot area. We gave information about the Cunest brand, how it should work, the opportunity of a cross-border approach, and we try also to involve different types of stakeholders. We involved 240 operators and 106 institutional representatives. They will change the image of tourism in the future with our brand. And we decided to choose, to indicate some main target groups where the stakeholders were working in different topics for cultural heritage, food farming producer, tourist service, also related to food and wine, and tourist accommodation, well-being sector, public bodies, traditional craftsmen, and all of them, after a very long procedures for giving the brand, they have this special cultural, sustainable, well-being Mediterranean diet with a different symbol inside. So after that, we could give our quality recognition to the stakeholders. Until now, we have 160 stakeholders that are involved with the Cunest brand. But it's really important to see that these Cunest stakeholders, each one of them is a driver of other stakeholders. This, I say, will change the future of the Mediterranean area. Also because we involve the laboratory of biological science, and we are connected with Mediterranean diet, the colleague gave some chemical analysis to test the health benefits of wine and olive oil producers. But it was very important at the end when we share this brand, Cunest brand, to the best stakeholders that are able to offer the best tourism, quality tourism. We had some round table, local workshop, transnational workshop, and the last international workshop in Lecce in June 2019, we decided that each partner should produce whole the local routes, related to the heritage, in total 32 Cunest routes, and 4 transnational itineraries: wine and olive oil itinerary, travelers, merchants and pilgrims itinerary, dry stones itinerary, and water itinerary. It was very interesting because later we have to test at a transnational, can say, round table or in other way, we have to taste through the stakeholders how is a benefit of CUNEST routes, CUNEST territory itineraries for the best tourism for rural area or for internal area or for, I can say, some very interesting area. So it was the testing phase of transnational routes fruition, and we had also to share some events together. Unfortunately, we have to stop last February because we couldn't have this other special involvement of stakeholders because there was the pandemic. But we invented a way to send package of our product to the other stakeholders of different countries, of partner countries. It was very interesting. We produced a book, but we are producing another international book on the Mediterranean routes. This was just a booklet of 150 pages, more related to Puglia region, but also we decided to participate to microfairs from the stakeholder products and services to the local microfairs to international, transnational microfairs. And after that, this was the best point for me, the communication approach, social web promotion, not just using, we used social networks such as blog, news, video, photo, interaction, and links, but we decided to move with new technology because the CUNEST project has been designed and implemented also with the objective to create and launch interactive multimedia products. During the implementation phase, it foresaw the launch of an online platform and app able to offer a collaboration of digital space, social network for the quality networks members, informative and dynamic section for potential visitors. The use of technology was also, can say, shared with the other partners, and it was, I think, the best way to demonstrate at the transnational level how is important to introduce our itinerary, our cultural use to new technologies. Of course, we had the University of Ioannina that was the main responsible of the pilot action thanks to its technological expertise, providing the necessary servers for the project life and perspective for follow-up. The lead partner, of course, we were the University of Salento, were able to offer expertise for developing a new innovative solution, such as virtual and augmented reality tools in collaboration with the laboratory of Lucio De Paulis, and the whole partnership supported and contributed at the implementation of planned ACT tools and at effective functionalities of the platform, providing contents and the form from each local context and stimulating the online population, the participation of the platform involving local stakeholders, local authorities. I think this was very interesting. This is some picture of the informative social web platform of the colleague from the colleague of Ioannina, Chrysostomos Stylios, professor, but a specific module for promotion and co-design routes and itineraries of our project was represented by the itinerary route module. Well, what's happened? We produce two parts of this route. You have seen some part, traditional part that we produce in this booklet. The first part was the creation of the routes. All the stakeholders, all the group of researchers gave their contribution to produce, to create, to build these routes. But after that, the second point was very important, is the display of the routes. Yes, this is we produce this map, and after that, with the support of stakeholders, we gave all the results to the colleague from University of Ioannina for innovative tools of promotion by the virtual reality, augmented reality application with the collaboration of laboratory of Lucio De Paulis laboratory. It was reality, I think, thanks to this application, the visitors can have access to several contents using their mobile device and the local printed also maps disseminated, and I think that we can give a very good support for the new programs, for the new call in the USAID area, because we give some new way to offer to the tourists our routes, our itineraries to the new technology. Of course, my group of research, the researcher wasn't able to work on this sector. For this reason, it's important to ask the collaboration of the engineer. And this happened with the Carola Gatto, and I would like now to give to Carola Gatto I can say the floor to Mrs. Carola Gatto for give a special illustration of this very important stage of the project, because the beginning was a traditional, new the give also this special, I can say, recognition of the stakeholders that which are able to offer sustainable tourism. But I think that new technologies in the future will have a very important role, because we are working with new generation, and they ask for new technologies. We need to open to them. Thank you very much for your attention.
So thank you very much, Professor Trono, for your presentation, for showing us this interesting project, also funding by the European Union funding, which is also very important to consider, because that is something very particular in the cultural routes, is that we don't have funding. I mean, we just have our own funding, or the funding we have from our own members, or even from regional, from national, and we have to go often to European Union to find some funding to develop these interesting projects. I think you mentioned many very interesting things, especially the difficulty, but also the importance of involving local authorities on the project. And I guess, because we know it also by our experience in the routes of Charles V, how difficult sometimes is to involve the local authorities. Sometimes there is even this political feelings between ones and others, that because this one is participating, I don't want to participate, or someone is initiating the project. So there is some difficulties, but I could see that you manage very well to get the local authorities inside. But I have a question just before going to the next speaker, to Carola Gatto, that you already introduced and will talk us a little bit and will show us a concrete example. I would like to know if you think that local authorities are aware enough of the potential of these routes to promote tourism, because this webinar is also about promoting tourism and using smart technologies to better enhance cultural heritage, and how a smart heritage tourism can be sustainable and profitable for rural and marginal areas, because we were talking that most of these places, most of these municipalities, we see that they are small places in the map. I mean, they are not the big cities. We know in Italy that there is some cities that they don't need this kind of promotion, but especially these kind of routes help small municipalities, small local authorities. But if it's sustainable, are local authorities aware enough about this? Which is the main challenge from your point of view?
To be honest, I'm working in a region, like Marita said before, told us before, that is very open to cultural heritage. They are working very well with cultural heritage, international cultural heritage. They make a lot of effort to Francigena, itinerary of Francigena. They are working very well. And to be honest, also local authorities are very interested to work with the cultural roots, with these roots, because maybe they can see another way to, I mean, in my area, to have a sustainable tourism, not just along the seaside. That is not really the best way. During the summer, you have really a lot of tourism that they don't care about the environment. Often they don't care about the seaside, but they are very interesting. I can tell you that there is a small village in the southern of my region that is working very well with Francigia now, inventing new way for promoting the cultural roots, of course, via Francigia, because it's to pass through this village. Another village would like to be involved, and the Puglia region are working a lot, not just for itineraries a long way, but also for, they recognized about 9 short reef routes. So it means that the feature will be more important for local authorities. And maybe the stakeholders are very involved. I tell you that in some area, we have not been there. In the central, very interesting from a landscape point of view, Valle d'Icia, where it is a special settlement, maybe you know through the other. They would like to be involved in this project because they understood that the cultural roots will be the future, not just the sea, but the internal areas, a rural landscape. And they asked me to accept them like new stakeholders to get this recognition. So I see that local authorities are very, very clever now in this time. Maybe after the pandemic, after the situation, they can see the new way. I am optimistic, but I would like to see the future, the network, the system of all Mediterranean countries, because the future of the Mediterranean Sea is on the culture, and the culture, sustainable tourism to the cultural roots. I believe a lot in that.
Of course. Thank you very much, Anna, for this specific point, especially for underlining the topic of sustainability, because that is also very important. This is something we can focus a lot also on the cultural roots, because we are not talking about massive tourism, but also on a smart tourism. That can be also sustainable, especially these days with the environment and the climate change. So, if you agree, we are going now to pass to the next speaker, and then we will have a few minutes for the final debate. I see that there was one question before in the question tab from Charlene Drakes to Professor Duda, but we will ask him later in the final debate because he will come back. And now I would like to give the floor to the next speaker. She's Carola Gatto. She's a PhD student, also at the Department of Cultural Heritage of University of Salento. So Carola, you have been working on this topic very much in your research. So we'll be very pleased to hear you and to see the good practices you have to show us. You have 15 minutes, and then we will go to the debate. So the floor is yours, Carola. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Professor. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks to Professor Trono for giving me the opportunity to introduce you more in detail our work. I hope you can hear me. And, okay.
You need your presentation. I will upload it right now. I think it's here.
Yeah,
you have it.
Okay, thank you. I'm a PhD student of the Department of Cultural Heritage of the University of Salento. And my current research interests are in digital curation and digital transformation in the museology field, with a special focus on augmented and virtual reality technologies. Here, for this presentation, my topic is about the cultural roots, of course, and the new technological knowledge as an important tool of regional growth, with the focus on the digital technologies for promoting the CUNEST network. Indeed, me and my colleagues of AVR Lab worked together on the CUNEST project, and today I'm going to show you some results of our work for the CUNEST project that Professor Trono told you before. So, We are members of the AVR Lab, that is a research laboratory of the Department of Engineering for Innovation of the University of Salento. And our research activities are mainly focused on virtual augmented reality, the human-computer interaction, and we use these tools in different fields, such as the cultural heritage, the medicine, the surgery, and the marketing. And I'm not spending so much time on this because Professor Lucio De Paulis, that is our scientific responsible of the lab, already told you about our activities. We were involved in the CUNEST project as researchers and developers with the main goal of exploit the digital technologies for promoting the CUNEST network and roots. In particular, we aimed at experimenting a new combination between ICT and human sciences. But also we aimed at improving the tourist experience in terms of learning and entertainment, with a goal that we can define of edutainment. So we wanted to put together the entertainment with the education, the educational goal. Our methodology was focused on the edutainment methodology. And also we aimed at achieving higher results in terms of audience development. So our target were, of course, the tourists, the visitors that were interested in the routes. So the strategy that we designed was to use our two main technologies in order to reach these goals: the augmented reality on one end and the virtual reality on the other end. The first one, so the augmented reality, has been taught by us as a good tool in order to create an interactive tool for using the maps in an innovative way. Indeed, as the Professor Trono told before, one of the outputs of the CUNEST project has been a set of maps, one for each partner involved in the project. In this map, the researchers have defined the itineraries and the routes. So we wanted to make these maps interactive. And we think about the AR technology as a tool, a good tool to reach this goal. The second one, so the second line of the strategy, was the use of the virtual reality. Thanks to this technology, we were able to design an immersive experience for visiting, experimenting in this experience on one point of interest. So we designed an immersive experience for visiting a point of interest, and we'll see more in detail soon about this point of interest. Briefly, where we are with our project. We are, of course, in the augmented reality, that is one part of the virtual continuum and is close to the reality, because the augmented reality is the real world augmented by the computer-generated information. So we are in the left in the virtual continuum, close to the reality. But also with our project, we are on the extreme right. So in the virtual reality, the light green part. And the virtual reality, it's a completely immersive computer simulated reality. That's I don't focus so much on this part because Professor Lucio De Paulis already explained what we mean for virtual continuum, but the main my goal now is to tell you where we are with this project. We design and developed a mobile app able to interact with the maps of the partners. So the first line that I show you of our strategy was to develop a mobile app and able to interact with the maps of the partners. And this is one of the example of these maps. Indeed, thanks to the collaboration with the graphic designer of the project, we put some markers on each map that our app is able to recognize. We also put a QR code for linking the map with Android and Apple Store for download the app itself. So the visitors, the tourists, needs to have the maps, the paper maps, in order to use our app. And they interact together, so you can't use the app without the map. And also the map is partially useful without the app because it's still a map, but it's better if you interact with your mobile phone, of course, to get other information and other content. Indeed, if we go inside the map, the app, we see the main menu, and this is the first screen that you get when you open your app on your mobile phone. And the main menu gives to the user the possibility to access the different maps section. This is the list of our partners. So we can imagine that we have one map for each partner. When you access one of these buttons, you can interact with the map that represents that area. So here I would like to show you the workflow of the app, passing from one screen to another. The main goal is, we need to keep in mind that the main goal is the dissemination of the content. And our content, in all of the project, the Kunes project, they have been organized by topics. So the brand, the routes, the itinerary, the landmarks, the event, and the project itself for each region. For example, here we see the screen of the Puglia region, and all the content are organized by topics. And for each topic, the user can also visualize, of course, the list of the items. For instance, every brand of the region Puglia that the user can choose to read in detail. Thanks to also some link with the website of each partner. But what about the augmented reality? As I already said, the AR section allows to interact with the map. Indeed, simply by focusing with the camera of the smartphone on some point of the map, the user visualizes the video related to that point, as you can see in the slide. The instructions of the use of the app are on the map itself in a very easy way. This is a dynamic and engaging way for spread content and information. And our policy as a laboratory is always to make to create app very easy to use. So we make tests and we try and get some feedback, and then we modify the app itself. And we publish, of course, the last version when we are sure that the usability is as an high level. So it's possible to download the app from this QR code that are also on the maps. Then we can pass to the second application, the second strategy line that we designed, that is the one about the virtual reality. So the second application we developed is the virtual reality tour. In particular, we worked on the virtual tour of an old hypogeum, the one of Masseria Torcito in Apulia region. It has been used, I would say this hypogeum has been used as underground oil mill for centuries, and now it is considered to be an important historic evidence of the rural tradition of the village that is in the south, in the Puglia region. But of course, it has some problem of accessibility. So the VR extends the possibility of fruition to all of the people without limitation and all over the world, of course. What a user need to access the application is a smartphone for running the app itself and a cardboard that is a low-cost device for VR. I would like to say that this app has also two versions, because we developed the app in two different versions, and I will explain you. The first version exploit the technology of 360 photos that allows to create photo tour in virtual reality. The 360 photos are very easy to shoot and very light in terms of memory and processing. So it's this is a demo, a photo demo that you see here in the splitted view. But of course, if you use the cardboard, you just see one ambience that is spheric, so you can look around and move your head, and you have of course the sense of presence that we were talking about before. The second version of the same application is I would say it makes use of photogrammetry, that is a more sophisticated techniques that start from a photograph campaign as well, but this version of the app is of course more is easier, I would say, in terms of memory and processing. Even if it is more immersive and impressive. The use of the application is the same, but the sense of presence is different. So we also, in order to make some tests, we planned to make these two different versions. Now let's look to the video of the simulation. Just to give you the idea of how it works. After the menu section, the user gets inside the 360 spheres, and the first location is an outdoor location, the Masseria Torcito, and you see here the entrance of the underground oil mill. As you can see, there are some info panels that the user can open or close by means of the red spot that you see here. In this way, the user can choose when to read the contents. These contents are about the history of this place. Then the user can move inside, as you see here, inside the mill, and here it's possible to read the information about the process of the oil production and the life of the workers inside the mill in the past. There is also the possibility to move through the corridors and to reach the other secondary places of the mill. Then it's possible, of course, to go back to the home. In the photogrammetry version, there are also some 3D models that show you the processing of the work for the oil that we created, starting from the traces that you can see here, from the old structures that are still existing. Okay, this is the simulation of the navigation, and this was briefly our work for Kunest project that represent an excellent opportunity for us, for our team, to experiment the technologies in the field of cultural routes. by creating new contents and new combination of the content with the technological tools. So thank you for your attention.
So thank you very much, Carola, for this presentation, for this example on how we can really develop the digital tools on a specific project, no, and how important can it be. I think you mentioned different topics, and in your presentation you were talking about ICT, human science, virtual reality. Well, you were talking also a little bit about what Professor Lucio mentioned us at the beginning, mapping, audience development. Also at the end with this example, we see that there is also a big work on photography and using the right tools to take the right photos and so on, and explaining the history. So many people working here. How important it is the disciplinarity and the multidisciplinarity of the team that has to work on all this to develop the project like this?
Yes, this is a good question. Indeed, we are a multidisciplinary team with different competence, different skills. For example, I'm a PhD student now, and I work on digital tools for a museum, but also for cultural places. My colleagues are engineers. Some of them studies just they don't have the technician skills. They just studies the history of art, for example, and we have we experiment with each project a new way for combining our skills. And also, I think we specialized each one in one aspect, and then we know how to share our skills. So, for example, now I know more about how to develop a virtual reality tour, thanks to my colleagues, thanks to the engineers, and the same for them. They know, for example, that the content, not all of the contents are the same when they need to fill their application, because this is an important also an important point, and I think that them this makes that different, because if you have very expert engineers and very expert historians on the experts in cultural heritage, you can create a product that is really useful and can keep also in the time as a good example for the research and for the also the people for the fruition and the announcement of the cultural heritage.
Yeah, and on top of that, if you are working in an international project like this, you will have different experts from different countries using different languages, and maybe some of them are experts in one field, another one in another more specific field. So you also have to combine this mix of cultures and ways of working that sometimes is very difficult and very different from one country to another.
Yeah, also for methodologies, of course, because, for example, for the development of the app, we worked together with the Greece partner, manage the website and also a part of the database and of the app. So we are specialists of AR and VR. They are specialists of something else, even if both are engineers. So we share also this kind of skills.
Okay, so thank you very much, Carola, for your presentation. It was really, really interesting. And now you stay there, and I'm going to call back to the stage to the other speakers that were with us this afternoon. If you can start coming to the stage, then we can just maybe mention a few questions or a few topics that maybe we can complete the rich presentation we have already here this afternoon. So we have here Rita already, Thomas, and now Anna is coming too. Professor De Paoli maybe is coming now. But before going into a general debate for a few minutes, I have a question here that was pending before from Charlene Drakes to Professor Duda. I don't know if you had a chance to see the question already in the question tab. She says that how would you recommend tailoring the digital tool to be used for the interpretation of the intangible cultural heritage elements that might exist as part of the roots? Do you follow the question?
Yeah. I found it. So, okay, so there's a time for answer that?
Yeah. Please go ahead.
So, in my opinion, the interpretation of an intangible heritage needs more sensitive approach, because the most important thing in the intangible heritage is the story, the message who is sending by this element of heritage, than, for example, the information. And the story should be decoded and should be presented to visitor by different way, of course. And we can try to do it by the classical form of interpretation, or, for example, the digital one or virtual one. I would like to give you the short example of from our region, because we have the 17th century old map of Pomerania region, and this map is a part of the intangible heritage of the region. And based on the digital and some contemporary new technology tools, we made the map alive. We alived the map and let the figures setting on the map to tell the story. So the map tells the story itself, like this one. And I think it could be some example of good using the new technologies just to present the significance of the intangible heritage.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that was a very important topic also, because we were talking about cultural heritage, maybe thinking more on the physical heritage we normally work on, but the intangible heritage is also part, especially in the projects of the roots.
And it's really important.
Yeah, it's a really essential topic, and with this answer, we can see also the interaction between the physical heritage and the intangible heritage. I had two questions that I left to you, maybe Professor Paolis, but it's a question that can go also for everybody. Which is the public that can benefit from this? From these technological tools, from this smart cultural heritage, apart from the classical ones, apart from the classical tourism that is coming to visit the place and to enjoy and to know a little bit more about the monument or a city or a landscape. Because I was thinking, for instance, that this can be also useful for other things, no? For education, for disabled people that cannot travel. I think can be very, very useful. I was thinking, for instance, during the presentation of Miss Carola Gatto, that another use you can give to this is, for instance, you can go to a place, you can enjoy it freely, just what is there, and then you can go home and see with your virtual glasses again the monument and have more information back to complete the visit you do. How many uses can we have with this? Give us some tips to develop projects in the roots, please.
Yeah, we have different use, as you talked before. In particular, for disabled people, no? For instance, we can take into account the different kind of disability. For instance, of physical disability, it's possible to permit to these people to try out of reach experience that they cannot really do in the real life, no? Climbing, swimming, or going in some specific place. In addition, there is a very research field in the rehabilitation, the use of VR and the AR for the rehabilitation after stroke, for instance, in order to improve the motor skills, ability of these people using this technology. In terms of serious game, no? It's very important for the people to have the impression that is a game, but by doing this game, by playing this game, we have the transparent results in terms of reliability, for instance, motor reliability. We developed, for instance, we were involved in the big project where we use VR and AR in order to develop a new methodology for people with ADHD, a problem with attention or hyperactivity. No? And we develop a new methodology in order to use the virtual reality, augmented reality for this kind of rehabilitation, because the people are, the young people are very interested to do this kind of rehabilitation because it's a game, no? But during the game they learn, and because of this they learn some rules, they learn to respect the time, and we hope that they are able to this experience, to bring this experience in the real life, no? Or for autism, for instance, also, or could be used in order to plan some accessible place or some accessible routes in order to, before developing, in order to reduce the anxiety or increase the safety for these people where we built these real routes or this real space. We can use it in very, very different topics in different way.
Thank you very much, Professor Paolis, for these examples you gave to us. And also, I will add that it allows us also to enjoy places that normally cannot enjoy because they are protected, for instance, and we cannot get in. So it's another way. So this really gives us an insight of how useful can be these new technologies in our routes. Do you have any other examples, maybe the other speakers, or something you want to share on this topic, or you remember about something that was very special as a sample of using these new technologies to show our heritage, to enhance our cultural heritage?
I'd like just only to add to this what Professor De Paulis mentioned before, that they are also very important that we can share with the information to many people at the same time. And then another one thing, we can personalize the information to different kind of recipients, visitors at the same time. So for example, some places could be visited by, for example, a group of 20 people, and every particular person could have particular, especially for him, the interpretation of the place using the virtual or some digital tools.
That is very interesting because you go to each one of the person. It's tailored. It's tailored to each one.
Right.
At the same time, we can have, which I think is very important, no? And we don't talk too much about the social use of these new technologies, because it's just not to promote tourism, to promote to enhance the cultural heritage, but also to give a social aspect to all this heritage, which I think is important. I had a question also for you before, Professor Duda, but can be answered also for other speakers. Was about which is the future of guides, of guides people with these tools. Should they reinvent themselves? They will exist in the future?
I think that we don't have to worry about it, because to make the interpretation complete, we need both sides. So Phil Collins sang in his song that if you want to know everything, you have to know the both sides of story. And this it's like an example. So we have to combine these two things, because sometimes we need some narrative way of presentation. For example, if we just knowing some legends, some histories, some stories of the place, we need the actor just to present it, not only the mobile or some electronic device. But on the other side, sometimes thanks to these electronic devices, we can go inside the places we cannot reach in normal way.
Okay.
So I think that we don't have to worry so much.
They have to be. They don't have to worry too much about the future. That is a good thing. It's as any technology. I had to put this question on the table because after any technology, any innovation, there is always this worries about the future of the classical, the classical things. So we hope that they will be able to convene to live together in the future.
Right. Please. Professor Duda mentioned the possibility to have many players, many people involved, no? And this is very interesting because it's possible to design some collaborative virtual environment where the people, because sometimes they think that where you use VR, you are isolated. No, it's not true, because in this environment, many people are involved in the same time, in the same place. And this means also to increase the empathy among different people, among different young people, guys.
That is very interesting. I'm thinking now on the gaming sector, because now I have 2 kids and now they are very involved in this gaming sector in a new way to the game we used to play before. It was with their hand and playing and so on. Now they play with many people at the same time. They play in different environments, and maybe we can also apply the gaming sector to the cultural heritage sector and make it maybe this can be also a way, as you are mentioning, of many people playing at the same time and at the same time learning about the landscape where they are playing, no? Because the problem here sometimes is that the landscape is artificial, it's not a real one.
May I say that is important for education point of view, because they could understand the milieu, the real heritage. Maybe some young people don't care about the oil mills. What is oil mills? Just a cave. But they can understand now the meaning of this cave. I think that this is an important instrument also for education. They have to learn also at school, in the school. I think
of course.
Because the people think that the study will be boring, no? But by means of this technology, we can take the attention of the young people. And if the virtual environment was built in accord with the paradigm of learning by playing, learning by doing, the learning is sure. No.
Okay, of course. And as Professor Trono say, at the end, the main aim is that people visit the place, that they really enjoy the place, because otherwise, if we can do everything online, this is no. We have been already 1 year like that, and we know it's not working. It's not working. It's not good.
Miguel, sorry, 3E: excitement, entertainment, education. This is the new program of the future tourism. So this way you can get a hold of them.
Of course. Thank you, Anna. Thank you. And I have one last question for you, which is a tricky question, and maybe it's the million question, and it's about economics. I mean, all these things you are doing cost money, of course. They are expensive, but they are put on the hands of the public for a better profit of the knowledge of the places and so on. Should they be free? Should people pay for it? Where are we now with this? Because now I know people, municipalities or public sector is supporting this to approach and to enhance cultural heritage, but this costs money. Are we ready to pay for that, or should be financed by the public bodies? Because when people plays in a game, they are ready to pay every game, even for a different skin. I just learned that from my kids. When they play and they want to change the skin of the avatar they are using, they are ready to pay for that. Are we as tourists, as people, ready to pay to use these applications because they are giving us an extra value? Can we think on that on the future? Because right now, I guess that everything is for free. What do you think about this? The marketing of these tools.
I think, sorry, can I?
Yes, of course, please.
I think that but everything that concerns the cultural heritage, should be free, should be, you know, because the cultural heritage is a common good, is our, you know, our own heritage, our identity, our root. Yeah, we are the cultural heritage is ourselves. So and changed with us. So how we can limit the exploitation, the enjoyment, the knowledge of this common good? How? This is the question. It's for me, it's not natural, not logical in a certain, from a certain point of view.
Yeah,
as the museums, as you know, all the new tools that the museums, the cultural sites now make available are free. Also, the serious game, the Archaeological Museum of Naples, the National Archaeological Museum of Naples, conceived, Fabio, through a society, conceived a wonderful serious game for the wonderful experiment of gamification to attract also the young generation to practice the museum, to visit and to know the museum. But it's free. So
okay.
I think
this is a good argument.
They have to be tools, instruments that the cultural institutes make available for all the users, for all the customer, for all the users.
This is a good argument, but I think, you know, something just to put the to remove a little bit the thing. For instance, I know some museums where you can just go there inside, you pay your ticket, you go inside, but then you have the possibility to rent a virtual thing, so you can enjoy a little bit more the visit. So some people is exploiting this. So even if not everybody is able to pay a little bit extra, and that was my main question: are we ready to pay a little bit more to get more? Because at the end, you are getting more with this work, and it's costing money. That was my question, maybe.
I think that when you go in the museum, for instance, you rent the audio guide, no? Instead of the audio guide, you can rent a tablet or an helmet in order to visit in different way. And also, when I went with my children in the museum, when my guys were young, very young, no? Was difficult for me to visit the museum because they went around, they are not interested to visit. If there is a serious game, no, the guys can use the serious game on the tablet, on the table, no, and I can visit in very quick way, in very I can say without the guys, the museum. At the end of the visit, I learned about the museum, the exposition, and also the guys playing to the serious game learned. In the past, when my guys was interested, at the end of the visit, I asked, what do you remember? Nothing, because they are not interested.
Yeah.
Edutainment is another keyword. No, edutainment, that is a combination of the education and entertainment.
Okay, so I think we have to finish now because we already achieved our time. Probably there will be more questions. I have many more questions on the table, but I'm sure we will be able to organize more encounters like this because it was very interesting. Hopefully, it will be very useful for the cultural roots that were present. Now we will record the video. Everything is recorded. It will be available on our YouTube channel, so everyone can enjoy it. I will give you also the links to spread the recording among your contacts. Hopefully, we will get more interest on the use of these technological tools on the development of cultural roots. So I want to thank you very much, all of you, for being here with us in this special day, in this special situation. But maybe because of this special situation, we were able to meet. And hopefully, I will be able to come back to Lecce and also to Poland to organize something in present. That will be a real pleasure for me. And also, I invite all the people who is following us to visit your places because they are really, really, really nice. And you have to visit the places in person. So thank you very much to all of you. And I will see you soon, hopefully in person.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for your precious support. Thank you very much.
In particular, thanks to Professor Trono that invited me to this webinar. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
For me.
Thank you.
Me
Thank you.
too. Me too. Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye.
I will see you soon. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Ciao.